Hey guys, my name is Attorney Walter, if not the third. Now, just as a quick update, I am not able to see as well as I normally can because they had to put a lot of dye and to dilate my pupils in my eyes because they were checking something to make sure I was super duper healthy. And one of the cool things they discovered was that, bottom line, the cornea of my eye is actually a little bit thicker than the average person. So my eyes are a little bit, it's difficult for me to see with all the bright lights that are coming in. They're actually a little bit dimmer than usual, but we're going to continue to go live and do the best show that we can for tonight. So we do have a bunch of callers that already called in. I know they're running a little bit late, 8:19 p.m. as opposed to 8 p.m. I did have issues getting the computer started. I want to do a quick update. There have been a lot of people who have been asking specifically about Social Security, disability, retirement, SSI, etc., updates to increases in amounts that people would go ahead and receive. Let me go into that. There are acts out there, and these acts have existed for a couple of congressional sessions. Some of them, many congressional sessions, such as like the Ssi Restoration Act, the Social Security 2100 Act, and things like that. These acts were essentially created in a time before COVID. They are now being reintroduced with new math applied to how they're going to pay for these programs. And the main bottom line is that all these programs for increasing Social Security benefits are a slight raise over time in the amount of Social Security taxes that you pay. And remember, it's a two-way pay, which means that your company pays a portion and then also you pay a portion when you receive your payroll. So just remember, what they're looking at is increasing the tax on companies and increasing the taxes on people to go ahead and pay for these increases in Social Security benefits. SSI Restoration Act specifically goes to fix a lot of the issues that are pertaining to Social Security, disability, supplemental security, income-based benefits. Whereas the Social Security 2100 Act goes into details relevant to being able to fix a lot of the issues pertaining to Social Security, disability benefits. We're getting a call right now. Let's go ahead and take it. Okay, here we go. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. Hold on. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. We are live on YouTube. Are you? Would you like to ask me a question, or would you like me to run hearing questions with you? Excellent, good sir. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process, and we'll go ahead and begin. Good sir, I'm putting you on speakerphone right now. Go ahead.
I'm on speaker.
Yes, good sir. You're on speakerphone.
Yes, I'm a disabled veteran, and I'm looking for a way to get a mortgage that is a construction loan.
Okay.
So I can put up a modular house.
Okay.
And then turn the loan into a mortgage.
Okay. I mean, that's a little bit outside of what I traditionally do on a daily basis. I'm a disability attorney. And that's my dog in the background complaining. And she always does this right when I start talking in front of the computer. But so walk me through the basics here. You're going to buy a plot of land. You're going to improve the land. And then what's going to happen? You're going to put some sort of like mobile home on it?
Yes, it's a modular.
Okay. So what's the big question? Is it how to fund it? Is it how to get the permits? What's the, yeah.
Yeah, it's how to fund it.
Okay. So this is one of those things where, and first, let me ask this. Why a modular home? Why not, for example, a home that's actually built on the land?
The house that I'm planning to build would be close to about $800,000 based on today's construction materials and labor.
Okay, and that's not taking into account the ridiculous cost of wood. That's just what it would normally cost, correct?
No. Prior to COVID-19, it would probably cost me about $300,000.
Okay, gotcha. So walk me through this. And I understand that. So you're saying you want a modular home because the home you would normally build would cost alone, not the property, but just the home, $800,000, correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So why? All right. So what is this? Just going to be a mega modular home?
No. And with the garage and porch And the house itself, I'm looking at about 3,000 square feet total.
So why do you need, well, all right, that's none of my business, but all right, let's go into this real quick. So you're going to be having this bigger house. Why wouldn't you reach out to one of the nonprofits out there that'll go ahead and work with you and be part of the building process where they'll literally come out and build a home with you?
Well, still garnering the materials to build is going to be a very major expense. And if I buy the modular, the panels come with the electrical and the insulation and the framing for windows and doors completed.
So your whole idea is to save money by essentially buying modular to have the same size of a house.
Yes, and they're built on the ground, so they're like a stick-built house, not a manufactured home.
Okay, so the basic thing is this: the cheapest way, and you're a vet, right? You said that in the very beginning.
Yes.
Okay, so the VA has specific loans where you don't even have to put anything down that you can opt into. They even have grants that you can pop into that allow you to basically go ahead and get, you know, a certain amount right off the bat. That's completely forgivable. Have you contacted the VA yet to go ahead and see what they're willing to give you?
Quite a few times. They don't do construction loans.
Mm-hmm.
They will do a loan on a home that is
ready to go
in existence.
So why don't you just get a home that's pre-built?
Up here in northern Arizona, there's more cows than people.
Okay, and that makes sense. There
are very few already built homes that are available for sale.
Okay, so I guess, and I mean they have a farm type loan that you can go ahead and check into. But look, you're a VA. The best potential loans that exist out there are already at your grasp. You just have to find a home that's already pre-built to tap into. I mean, why wouldn't you just pick a spot or another state that has a home pre-built?
Well, I tried a townhouse in East Las Vegas for about 22 years ago. And when it came time for me to move in, I was asking the HOA director about permission to put a wheelchair ramp from the sidewalk, the curb past the sidewalk to the door of the house. And he told me, we don't want disabled people living here. And I said, wait a minute, I'm a veteran. He says, I can care less.
All right, but that's not, you know what I mean? Like that's a one-off, you know, you ran into a problem there, and I get that. But I mean, honestly, good sir, you really, really got to rethink this thing, because you have the option to get the best kind of VA potential loan that you could want. And frankly, to have to build a mega modular or to build a mega house, you should just find one that's already ready to go, and you're not going to save that much money by building one, you know?
Well,
in fact, you're actually going to spend more right now to have to build one, and you're going to get lesser quality in the resources needed to build it. You should just find a home, get a VA loan, and get a VA grant to set you up to do it. To go ahead and build out a mega modular, I mean, that's you trying to make something big. Just find a house that's already there. And then if you get it in, like, you know, in a, an agricultural or, you know, like away from everything area, you can go to the USDA and get another loan from them, which is the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And they'll work with you to go up and set up a rural area loan. And then you could go ahead and, you know, ask them to work with you on some sort of garage, you know, some mega garage that takes care of the space needs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely, good sir. But I would definitely go VA, because I'm telling you, out of all the loan programs, that one is miles ahead of anything that's available to just pure civilians.
Yeah, I watched your YouTube presentation this morning.
Yeah, Absolutely. But yeah, good sir. I'll catch you later. You have a wonderful, wonderful night, okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have
you,
a
good sir.
day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. So we've missed a couple more phone calls. Let me go ahead and begin the process of going through this real quick. Hold on. And of course, my dog, I may have to put her outside because she's just going to keep whining and complaining. Let's see who the next phone call is. Here we go. And they called in, and here we go. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott with Disability Resolution PA. Would you like me to answer a specific question? Oh, I got to hold on. Hold on, guys. Sorry, there's so many people calling in. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott with Disability Resolution PA. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to go ahead and run hearing questions with you? Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead. We're going to put you on speaker. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. And I think the phone just hung up. Hold on, guys. Let me try calling this person back. I think the phone's getting overloaded at this point because it's just like Zoom, phone calls missed. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can get this person back. Hi, ma'am. I'm going to put you on speakerphone real quick. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. Go ahead and ask me the question.
Okay, so I had an inheritance this past year, excuse me, and it was put into a trust.
Okay.
And I also had money put into a retirement account. And I've tried to report the trust income, and I couldn't because of COVID and the offices were closed, and I couldn't get online. My password just wouldn't work.
Okay.
So am I going to be penalized for not reporting that? And are the offices open? Do you know?
Well, give me a little bit of a fact pattern. Like, when did you receive this? What happened with it? While you're doing that, I'm going to run my dog outside real quick. That way she can run around. But give me some fact pattern details.
Okay. So my mom passed away in April and last year. Excuse me. And then I was able to purchase a van because I was going to live in the van on purpose. And in all of this, trying to report that I had gotten a trust set up and that my mother had died and how much money was in the trust, I just wasn't able to do that. I couldn't get through. I had requested to set 3 appointments and nobody ever called me back, gone to the offices, they're completely closed. So that's a little bit of that backstory. As far as the annuity account, it's really a retirement account. The company calls it an annuity account, and the bank calls it an estate account, but it's not an estate. It's very confusing. But I know that a lot of people that are in my situation, probably have these same questions. I was finally able to report this retirement account, and evidently because it's inheritance, they are not docking my SSI. But I'm concerned about the trust account, going back and reporting everything that I've had in it since whatever. And I sold a van today, and I put that money back into the trust. So just wondering how to navigate some of that.
Okay. Are you on SSI or SSDI?
I am on SSI, and I worked for public schools, so I don't have any chance of getting SSI. Because all of my work credits came from getting Social Security. All of my work credits came from that. And even if I worked now, they're telling me, SSI would be better. I am disabled.
Okay. And this is the claim where there was no Social Security or there was no disability trust set up initially. This was purely just a regular trust.
Just a regular trust, irrevocable trust.
Okay. And this was also, and we talked about this over the phone a little bit, there was an issue pertaining to essentially the 3-person structure, which is the grantor, the trustee, and the beneficiary, and then you were made into the trustee and the beneficiary as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so so one of the problems you run into is that when you have that situation, it's not traditionally a valid trust, which means that all those assets are going to be to some degree within your grasp, which means all those assets to some degree are going to be taxable to you. But keep in mind, I'm not a tax attorney, and I always tell people for tax-related questions, go contact a tax attorney. And one of the things I would say with this is that it sounds like you were trying to get a hold of the IRS to get direction. The IRS is probably going to say to you, hey, why didn't you just hire somebody to go ahead and take a look at this to help you with filing it? So here's what I would say with this situation. You're an SSI person. You didn't have enough quarters of coverage. Inheritance is usually almost always considered a resource for SSI purposes. It could come in as income and be countable, and then transition into a resource, which is an asset that you hold on to for more than a month. But the bottom line is that all of those things that are coming into your capacity, your capacity to wield, to change, to modify, to edit, to alter, those are all things that are likely to be taxable, especially since you hold the role of the trustee, who's the person. And for those of you guys who don't know what we're talking about online, there's a grantor. The grantor is the person who creates a trust. They have all the stuff, and then they put all that stuff into a special entity called the trust, and the trust has what's called a trustee, and the trustee is the person who distributes those assets to the beneficiaries, and the beneficiaries are the ones who basically go ahead and receive all the great things from this trust. But this is a unique situation because this trust has a trustee and a beneficiary at the same time, which is not how it's supposed to be set up. And so to me, the way usually I see these things coming through is that they just look at you as the person who is receiving all of these things directly. And I think there will be a taxable consequence, but please do contact a tax attorney, because I don't know tax law. That's not in my field. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we set it up for taxes to be paid out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure. So I hope I'm okay. And I'm just being careful to keep records of what I'm spending and what I'm putting in and things of that nature. But as another question that goes with that, if I sell things, like if my mother left me something valuable and I go on Amazon and sell it, do I count that as income if I put that money into the trust, or does that still count as inheritance? And I have an LLC, and can the LLC sell that, and then that money's in that business, which will protect it? Will help me pay the taxes on it and things like that.
I think all of them are a gain to you to some degree, whether you take the funds out and put them back. I think there's a capital gain issue of how much of a gain you're going to have, which you should, catch up with the tax attorney. And then the other question I have that came right to my mind is, all right, let's say that the trust was set up to pay taxes. Well, you're the trustee. Who's the one paying the taxes?
That's a very good question.
Yeah, because it's not going to automatically just magically pay taxes. I mean, they do have account systems that do that now, but those are through firms that receive, and then as they distribute, it's accounted, and they do the taxation output from that, and they kind of have programs kind of like ADP with payroll. But that's not your gig. Your gig is like you're getting all the funds to play with, you're using them, and then you're putting them back potentially. To me, that sounds like you should be taxed on the whole amount,
Okay. And really and truly, this was the first year that I've ever had to file taxes.
Okay.
And that was another thing with having on SSI, you don't make enough to have to file taxes. So I'm assuming the reason that and I'm ashamed I don't even know, that the reason that we filed taxes was because of the trust. So I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I did file taxes, and I sure didn't get that money to file that I needed to file from SSI. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, no.
I'll definitely ask my tax person.
Yeah, I would contact a tax attorney, run it by them, see what the thoughts are. A lot of them will give you kind of like an hour. Well, they won't give you an hour. They'll give you like a 15 or 20-minute free session to go ahead and basically go through the details about what your situation is. But I would say this, just be prepared. You're going to have a chunk of taxation for the assets there.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And the problem is that you've already had access to them, and you can't unring a bell. So what they're going to say is, those funds are yours now. It's not like they're just sitting in a trust. I mean, how much is left in the trust?
Almost 20,000.
Okay, so bottom.
As of today.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, since you hold the status of trustee and beneficiary, they're probably going to hit you with all of the taxation for it to dissolve it, and then you would just take the funds, which is, essentially what you have right now, which is you hold the role of the trustee who distributes it and the role of the beneficiary who receives it. So.
Okay. And I'll ask this question to the tax person. I'm a little confused about if I put it in the retirement account and put everything in the retirement account. I don't think there's stimulations what I can buy with the estate account like there is a trust account. But how much of that? That's why I need an appointment with SSI. so we can figure this out.
I mean, the SSI is not going to be able to give you answers though, because that's like tax law stuff. You're asking about how do I transfer the funds into essentially a retirement account for my future. And honestly, if you really wanted to do that, just put them into a disability trust account. Actually put them into a trust account that'll pay you over time.
Okay.
You could also use like a Roth, an IRA, that kind of stuff. But the point here is you're going to get hit with the tax on this stuff probably for the total amount because of the two positions you hold. And you're almost certainly, I mean, you can then distribute the funds however you want at that point,
Okay. So it might even be more of a, because this trust really is not a wonderful thing. So that might even be a little blessing.
Well, it wasn't set up right. Yeah. I mean, why didn't the prior attorney set you up where you had a proper trustee,
I did hire an attorney, and he didn't tell me that. I've never had a trust before, so I didn't know. I read all the information, and that's how I found out, oh, my gosh, I'm not supposed to be the trustee. And, he didn't tell me that. So he was an estate lawyer and told me that he knew about disability stuff. And when it got down to it, he didn't. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So even if you're disabled out there and you're trying to get all this set up, don't rely on what people tell you. I'm not always able to understand what they say and be able to process it. And it's just better to have people with you to have more ears to listen.
I think if this were to be done properly, it should have been set up into a disability trust. Now, how long have you been on disability benefits?
Since 2007. Yeah,
I mean, and when did this trust come into existence?
2020. Probably, I think we set it up around maybe February 20.
Yeah, I would have honestly.
Before my mother passed.
The first thing I would have done is had this directed into a special needs-based disability trust, and then I would have appointed a trustee, whether it's a company or a person that you know and trust. And everybody always goes, I don't know somebody, yada yada, but they have companies that will go ahead and distribute. And I would have made sure that those funds, the whole point here is to go have the least amount of taxation as possible to you, the recipient, being the beneficiary. And in your case, it sounds like you had full, lock, key, and open door access to these funds, which means that this is pretty much a dissolve whatever they created situation and then just give you the funds and tax you on whatever you're receiving.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will definitely check with an attorney, tax attorney, quickly and find out. And then if that's the case, if they're going to tax me, will they take it from my SSI until it's paid back, or are they just just take the money from me, or do you know how they do that?
Well, I mean, you basically have to work out a payment plan with the IRS, and then you would just pay so much per month,
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm glad I've never had to really have this information before, but I wish I would have had it. So.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. Once you get it all finished and fixed up and everything's good to go, you're going to have a huge sigh of relief. You're going to go to bed better at night. You're going to feel a lot, better about the future of what's happening. You might have less money from it, but, remember, it is to some degree taxable. And I don't know why a lot of it wasn't set up as a gift to you. That would have been the better way to do it all along, or set it up into a disabled, trust account. But you are kind of where you're at right now. And you might want to go back to that original attorney that was filling out the wills, trust, and estate, situation for this, because this is a mistake. And this is something that, maybe he could fix. Maybe the insurance company on behalf of him can fix. That might be something to look into.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Yes. And I will definitely be calling him and asking about this.
But
really appreciate it.
Yeah, call a tax attorney first and then give him a call.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and pop from this call to another call. Hold on real quick. Okay, one sec. Howdy, good sir. So I'm putting you on speakerphone. Tell me. Give me some details. Remember to use a fake name. I know this was a claim that we talked about back in the day in California, and it had a low percent passage rate judge. It was a real toughy claim. I said, I know back in the day, I said, no, I'm not going to take the claim because of the tough tough percentage rate passage judge that you had. Walk me through what ultimately happened with the claim.
Yes, John Doe here in California. Yeah, Mr. Nutt, essentially, I was scratching my head a couple weeks before the hearing, panicking, anxiety, and actually your assistant calmed me down and said, you know what, you can actually go through, even though you may think your attorney may not do a good job, you can go through this process yourself, be prepared for the hearing. And during our last talk during the Thursday night about a month ago, you mentioned to me the clients that did well were the ones that knew their timeline.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I sent an email to my attorney mentioning to him, hey, can you please send me a copy of a brief? And he doesn't usually write briefs for clients. He doesn't do briefs. He typically just goes into the hearing. But for some reason, he was willing to write a brief, and he knew some things in my records that I didn't even know, and he just used the Social Security rules very, very well, and it was like a essay that came straight out of law school, college. It was a really, really compelling brief that I'd like to send you a copy of it. And
yeah, send it over.
Yeah.
I remember this claim had some interesting flips to it. I remember getting some very what do I do phone calls from you. I know at first you were worried about a lot of things so what were some of the things, because I don't remember all of them, but I remember I received a call from you about requesting an on-the-record review. I remember I received a call from you about a hierarchy or something like that happening within the law firm. What were the things that happened with this other law firm? And I'm sorry I didn't take the claim. I just I have so many claims over here on this side of town, on the east side of the US. I was worried about just taking another claim that had a low percent passage rate judge, because I invest, every claim gets a brief, and when you do that, it's like you never have enough time. But what were the things that this law firm did that you liked? What were the things that this law firm, not my law firm, but the one that you had in California, did that you didn't like? Walk me through the good and the bad of that other law firm.
Yeah, so the law firm I had was actually in a small town in Alabama, and some of the bad was that it took a while for them to get back to me, and oftentimes I'd have to call multiple times. I even had to have one of my friends she's a Jewish lady, type A personality, and she was able to help get some things done. And essentially, the communication getting back and forth was problematic until my friend stepped in, and I also sent, with your suggestion, I did really, really push for a brief, and I thought that push during that last mile, that push, I remembered what you told me about understanding the timeline game, being prepared for the household activities. I liked that attorney during the hearing asked all the questions. The judge only asked 2 questions, and the questions were based on what the attorney knew from the timeline. And I credit that to you, Mr. Knott, because you were a catalyst to all of this, and I think it would have been really likely that I wouldn't have won if it wasn't for that brief.
Excellent. That's excellent. I think, and we had a big conversation. I'm trying to remember because, I do so many phone calls, but we had a big conversation about the requesting a decision from the bench, and you were all for it. I remember that. You were like, I really like this idea, and you were kind of almost selling me on it. And then I remember being vehemently against it. I was like, this is terrible. So, what happened with that in detail? It didn't go forward. It did go forward. It was pulled back. What was the discussion that you had with the other law firm about that?
Yeah, so what happened was about a month prior to the hearing, before a physical test came in, we were going to do results of a physical evidence that came in. Essentially, the attorney, I told him that I would like to do an on-the-record review just based on an independent psychological CE, and he said, sure, your report looks promising for that. And then, I had some doubts about it, and I spoke with you, and I said, I thought about it, and I said, you know what, I just want to make sure I'll leave everything out there. I pour my heart out in the courtroom to the judge, let him know my disabilities are, let me get denied if it has to come down to that. And I sent him an email saying, hey, please, can you cancel the on-the-record request? And he didn't reply, but he a few weeks later, just shortly before the hearing, he submitted documents. I had to push him a bit, but the pushing seemed to bring out the best, the best, because he has a brilliant mind that I didn't see that in his writing. That I could tell that he with law school, he just had really good deductive reasoning skills, and it really shined because of that sort of push.
I think that's one of the really true things about disability attorneys is that with most disability attorneys, and I don't even know how some of these disability attorneys go into these hearings without having a brief written. I have to have a hearing, or rather a brief for every hearing, because I can't remember exact page numbers and exhibit, numbers and things like that. And a lot of them just kind of wing it, to be honest. But for somebody to make it through law school and get to the point where they're actually running a law firm, doing all these things, it's just one of those deals where it's a very highly intelligent person to become an attorney. But at the same time, a lot of them have to be woken up to do a little bit extra. Yeah, to go the extra mile. Tell me about the questions that the judge asked. Tell me about the questions that you learned about beforehand. Tell me about the questions that the judge asked that were not in my videos. What happened during the hearing?
Okay, so essentially the hearing started asking my name and just confirming who I am. And then after that, the judge turned it over to the attorney. And this was the first time the attorney has ever, it's a telephonic hearing. The judge was in Missouri, the attorney's in Alabama. This is the first time these people met. It's an older judge in his 50s and attorneys in his late 20s. And they seem to have a good rapport and connection. I could tell that right from the get-go that I wasn't going to be attacked. I just had that feeling, that vibe. And he let the attorney ask, hey, what are your limitations as far as walking? Do you do any social activities outside of the house? The attorney essentially asked most of the questions, and the questions that the judge asked seemed like questions that are asked in a continuing CDR. Has your chronic fatigue syndrome got better, worse, or the same? And another condition, has it gotten better, worse, or the same? Those were the only two questions that the judge asked, surprisingly. And then after that, it came down to the VE and the hypothetical. It was basically based on being off task for 10% of the time or greater. Would there be a job that exists? And the VE said no. And the judge asked the attorney if the attorney would like to cross-examine the VE, and he said, no, Your Honor, which is pretty smart. And everything just seemed to flow. It was a very, very short telephone hearing, and because of the way the brief was prepared, I think, and the connection that the attorney had with the judge, it made it seem like there was actually two attorneys that were helping me instead of just my attorney.
So one of the things I want to point out real quick is that you almost always want to, unless you know it's going to be approved, basically do testimony, examination with the vocational expert, because you always want to have the option to, have some appeal options available. But it sounds like this thing was pretty much decided, or he was getting hints from the judge at the end of the testimony as to which way the judge was going to be leaning with this claim. And in that instance, you can say, no, Your Honor, no additional questions to the vocational expert. And so it sounds like this thing was decided in the examination and cross-examination section. So the judge didn't ask many questions. Were there any questions that this attorney asked that were not covered in the videos that you think would be good in sharing on the live?
Yes, there were questions asked about essentially what are your symptoms? What symptoms when you have chronic fatigue? What symptoms do you specifically have? And my attorney asked me a question that I wasn't even prepared. He didn't prepare me for. I had to. There's because I studied the timeline, and I think that the attorney knew that because he gave me a copy of the brief. He probably, I think he trusted that I would answer it properly. So he said, what if you would? What would you do if you had to walk more than 5 minutes? And I mentioned that I would walk for a couple minutes, take a break for like an hour, and then walk another couple minutes. And that sort of was something that was challenging. It was challenging for me in that I wasn't prepared for it, but because I knew what was in the brief, and I had a rough idea of what was in the timeline, and the attorney knew what was in the timeline. It seemed like the attorney made it easy for me for some reason.
Good. Well, excellent, good sir. And it sounds like this was a Kentucky firm as opposed to a Cali firm. So it sounds like there might have not been, the attorney probably didn't know the judge, but still the claim was pre-prepped. The judge appreciated it. They were able to kind of go through it and do a good job finalizing everything with an off task. And those are the two main things that you hear at the vocational expert portion, which are absenteeism and off-task work capacity, which is basically absenteeism, how many days a month are they going to miss? Then off-task work, are they going to miss more than 10% while they're working, where they're going to be off-task, over 15%, over 20%, over 5%, etc. With the vocational expert. But excellent, good sir, excellent. Thank you so much for calling in, and congratulations,
Well, I appreciate it, Mr. Knott, and I really appreciate you raising awareness to our abilities as claimants, and this wouldn't be possible without your audience either. To have the awareness to be able to take actions like asking for a brief that most claimants in the U.S. would never even think about, and the ripple effects of such ideas that you bring forth, I think has a capacity to make a lot of great changes in this country with what you're doing with the space constitution and getting us to be able to think.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, good sir. My big hope and dream for spaceconstitution.com is to get people to understand that they have rights. They had rights that were taken away from them, that there are freedoms that are not codified that I think we should put into law. And I think that we need to start realizing that in 3 years from now, we're going to have boots on the ground on Mars. And we need to start thinking about what that future country on Mars is going to be like, because Elon has already requested from his top general counsel to write a constitution for what his space base on Mars will actually be following as to law,
Right.
So, yeah. Well, excellent, good sir. I will catch you later. You have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thank you, Mr. Knott, and thank you for all the great work that you do.
Excellent, good sir. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.
We've got another call real quick. Let's see if I can get it. Oh, hold on. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. We are live on YouTube. Would you like me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to go ahead and run some hearing questions with you? Sure. So if you mute the computer, we can go ahead and basically go through it. So go ahead and mute the computer, and then we can go ahead and answer specific questions that you have, okay?
My name is May Nazareno.
So yeah, and we actually, yeah, we want to use fake names. Yeah. So is there any way that you can actually mute your computer? So if you go onto the screen, if you just put the pointer over the screen, there's usually an area where you can mute the sound, or you can just go ahead and go onto your computer, and there's usually a button for a speaker down. Good. So and make sure, yep, just make sure you use a fake name throughout this. That way, basically, we can proceed. So would you like to ask me a question at this point?
Yes, sir. Okay. I got hurt. I got injured at work. The injury happened last year, January 7th of 2020. And due to that, this year, I need to end up having a rotating cuff repair for both of my shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
But my orthopedic doctor or surgeon allows me to do the repair for one shoulder for now, which is my left shoulder. To make the story short, the workers' comp, because the company that I worked with gave me a termination letter due to my injury. So I hired a lawyer, and to make the story short, the workers' comp settled. And now, until today, I have no work. And I tried filing an unemployment, but it keeps asking me to reapply or to apply for 5 different companies. But my point here is I'm still disabled. I still cannot work. The operation that I had was this January of this year, and until this very day, my shoulder is not even 75% movable or can be used, at least 75%. And I'm just wondering, I have diabetes, I have heart condition, and I don't know if do I have a case to file for a disability?
All right, let's go through some of the basics. What's your current age?
I'm 58, sir.
Okay. Highest level of education completed?
2 years in college.
2 years in college. Okay, gotcha. And did you actually get like an AA, or is it one of those things where it was just halfway through another program?
Halfway through.
That's fine. That's no biggie.
Program,
yeah. Okay. Okay, no biggie. Walk me through, what are your top 5 most severe impairments?
Say that again, sir. I'm sorry.
Sure. What are your top 5 most severe impairments?
Most severe. What, sir?
What are your top 5 most severe impairments? So your left shoulder would be number 1.
Okay. My left shoulder will be number 1. And then I'm having shortness of breath.
Okay.
And this is chronic already. I have a cardiologist who handles my heart condition.
Mhm.
And I also have an endocrinologist who handles my diabetes. I am an insulin dependent. I have an insulin pump, and I use CPAP. I don't know if that will count.
Okay. What about sleep issues? Talk to me a little bit more about that.
I'm sorry, sir.
Any sleep issues, any anxiety, any depression, any mental impairments?
Oh no, sir.
Okay.
I'm in there. I'm normal. Only my condition that it prevents me to work 100%. I am a certified nursing assistant. I don't know if I can say that, but yeah.
Are you registered as a certified nurse, or is it you just did that as an employment?
I am certified nursing assistant.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so walk me through.
Licensed in that state.
Okay, gotcha. Walk me through this. When was the last time that you worked and paid taxes?
Last year, sir.
Okay. And when did the issue with your shoulder occur?
After the injury, after the injury I had last year, January 7th.
Okay. So you had the injury, you're no longer able to work. Are there other jobs in the national economy that you think you might be able to do that are simpler jobs, like sedentary jobs?
The company that I worked with accommodate me as a sitter for almost a year. From January 2020 to December 2020. And then December was the month that they gave me the termination letter.
Okay. And what was the determination letter?
It says there that if the hospital doesn't have, or any unit cannot accommodate me with my limitation, they need to let me go.
Okay, so basically it was a letter acknowledging your impairments, that you weren't capable of work, ergo it was a termination notice.
Somewhat, sure. Yes.
Okay, gotcha. So now with that said, you are of a good age to file for disability benefits. Can you explain to me, is there another job in the national economy that you think you'd be able to do that would be part-time or slightly above part-time?
Well, with the seater, I can do that, but being a seater, through my experience, you cannot just sit there and take care of and watch the patient. Just in case the patient becomes, I still need both of my arms, to make the story short.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the patient will go RA or becomes, disoriented, I need to help them. But I will be I'm jeopardizing myself too, because I'm still, my left shoulder is still not usable 100%.
So how much can you lift with your left hand?
Maybe the 5 gallons, sir.
Five gallons?
Yes, sir. In fact, my surgeon haven't approved me to go back to work.
Okay. All right. So here's the deal. So we've got basically a surgeon that said you can't go back to work. I'm not sure. I mean, this may be accurate and true, but let's take another look at this real quick. When it comes to your ability to go ahead and lift things, right? You're saying you could lift 5 gallons. How much does 5 gallons weigh in pounds?
5. Oh, wait a minute. No, a gallon. I mean, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Not 5 gallons.
Okay, perfect. So like 8 or 9 pounds, right? You can lift around 8 or 9 pounds.
Yes, sir.
Okay, what about your right arm?
my right arm.
Mhm.
I'm still okay with the right arm, but this arm needs to be repaired too.
Okay.
So, yes, sir.
Okay, now let me ask you this. Would you be able to go ahead and button buttons on a shirt, pull up a zipper, tie shoes, things like that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Would you have any limitations while doing those things?
I got shortness of breath when I bend for a
Okay.
long period of time.
Well, what's a long period of time?
Maybe a few minutes, less than 5 minutes.
Okay, less than 5
And
minutes.
then,
Okay. Oh,
yes,
what
sir.
about reaching overhead? Are you able to reach up over your shoulder with your hand, even though you have the shoulder issues?
The left shoulder cannot reach overhead, sir.
Okay.
My right, yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so and I mean there's some limitations here that don't meet the listing level requirements of what they're looking for, and kind of the vocational expectations. This is a claim that I think with a more favorable pro-claimant judge, you would be okay. I think it does get a little bit tricky when you get below that 47% passage rate type of judge. You might run into some issues. I think a couple of failed work attempts at simpler jobs would help the claim. I think further review of your abilities when it comes to physical rotation abilities and percentages of movement, I think would be very good. Yes, you should file immediately. Yes, you should. But the one recommendation I would make is go watch videos about the types of questions that they usually ask at the SSA and understand the reasoning behind it, because a lot of the questions that they'll ask you are set up specifically to figure out whether or not you can do a job out there, whether it's a sedentary, a light, a medium, or whatever job. And the whole purpose of it is to say, oh, you take care of pets, well, you could work at a pet store. Oh, you take care of kids, well, you could work at a place where they watch kids all day. Whatever it is, or older people, you could work at an elderly facility. Their whole thing is to find if there's any jobs in the national economy that would be able to go ahead and have you placed into that hypothetically. So my suggestion is go and look at some of those questions that they usually ask, and then try to go ahead and imagine why you would be able to either do the jobs or not do the jobs due to your impairments. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank
Perfect.
you so very much. I'm so lucky that you received my call.
Yeah.
My call, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Absolutely. Ma'am, have a wonderful, wonderful night.
You too, sir. God bless.
God bless. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, guys. So we and I missed a ton of questions here, and I see that. Yeah, I see a ton of that. Oh, somebody sent me an adorable picture of a dog. A really adorable picture of a dog. All right, so here's kind of the bottom line, guys. I like to do a bunch of questions over the phone. I do want to do a quick update on Biden's status on what things are happening. I did have some people grumble at me in the comments section, specifically with some of the videos I released about what is the likelihood of these bills coming into actual existence and becoming a law. So I just want to first clarify. I am giving you guys bills that are specifically linear with the statements made on the president's, vice president, and vice president's website prior to them becoming the president and vice president. So their hopeful website of becoming president, where they outlined all the things that they wanted to do. These are the bills that specifically, bullet point by bullet point, go through and allow. Wait, let me see here. I see a Walter. What happened? That allow us to go ahead. I received my back pay deposit my account that my ex-president my issues was struggling. Okay. I'll go into that question in the chat session shortly. But these are the bills, like the Social Security, Supplemental Security Income Restoration Act. These are the bills that Biden had point by point on his website as to what he wanted to do when he became president. So what is the likelihood of these passing? Well, it's significantly higher, more so than during Obama, more so than during Trump, because Obama and Trump did not have these notations on their websites as their thing that they wanted to do when they were becoming president. Yes, some of them were brought forward all the way back to the beginning of Obama's era or the latter part of Obama's era, and then reintroduced during the Trump era. The bottom line is that the SSI Restoration Act is highly likely to at some point pass in some form, whether it is the actual SSI Restoration Act or if it's, consolidated into one of these massive, massive bills that we usually see them do. And why the reason they do that is they get to take the senator who created that one good idea that they want to, send the bill through. They take that one good idea and they relabel it as the president's idea. And then the president puts it into this mega bill. And then he gets to go ahead and stamp his approval on it, either as a sponsor or a co-sponsor. Sponsor is the person who's basically the one person in the front holding the flag, and the co-sponsors are the ones riding behind saying, we want our name on this, we support it. I'm going to be doing a video that actually goes through the top 10 things you can look out for that specifically show you the likelihood of a bill becoming law. And the reason this is important is that it goes through bullet point by bullet point by things you should watch out for and look for that mean this thing is probably going to pass into existence. So that'll be coming out later this week, either Saturday or Sunday, maybe Monday or Tuesday. I do have a couple of extra videos that are going to be coming out about, wow, Florida couple, thank you. Wow. 30, that's really, wow, thank you. So Florida couple's been with us a really long time, guys, and she's always been a person who donates, and I really do appreciate that. And I always take those funds and I put them towards basically dog treats, which is unfortunately why Sweetie is so chubby at this point. But she is a happy, chubby dog, and that's what counts. Okay, so you guys want me to talk about the fourth stimulus. A lot of the YouTubers had the expectation that it was going to be passed in early July. My thought was that was going to be passed somewhere between the 15th and the 20th of July. The thing that I thought was going to happen actually happened, which was that the expectation that Biden would say, hey, we've got a deal right before the 4th of July did happen. It wasn't a real deal. It wasn't a deal on all the things. It was just kind of a small little miniature version of the potential act that would come out. And it was using basically this third party, middle group to kind of bring the left Republicans and the right Democrats together on this. And through that, they had a quasi deal, which was an attempt, realistically, let's call it like it is, to, shake a stick at the Republicans so that Biden could come back out and say, hey, the Republicans aren't pushing this forward. They don't like this. And it ultimately reduces the pride in patriotism that happens with the July 4th that the Republicans always get from the July 4th, which happened. I thought somewhere between the 15th to the 20th that he would be passing the fourth stimulus. I do not think that anymore. I think it's going to be somewhere before Labor Day or directly after it. And the reason why is that I thought the economy was going to improve or correct itself much faster than it currently is. There's a lot of people saying, wow, the economy is doing great. They're trying to hire lots of people, etc. That is true, but it's not doing as well as I thought it was going to be doing with the recovery, which means that Biden has more time to play with, essentially, the idea of releasing this whole program, this whole increased stimulus. Will this stimulus have some sort of monetary value for the people like the prior one? They keep hinting that it's not going to. They keep hinting that they have two acts that they're going to be coming out with, one for infrastructure and then one's just basically a big tax one. And the ultimate bottom line here is that people want to know specifically, are they getting $500, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000? What are they getting? And they keep talking about payroll cuts and payroll tax option and all these things and yada yada. I don't know where they are going to be at this point going forward. What I think is probably going to happen is that Biden will come out with some sort of token amount, probably 800 to 1,000, something like that, to go ahead and be like the last stimulus that he'll be doing before the economy recovers under his presidency. But I think something that is important to watch is happening, which is that the red Republican states are not improving and getting back to the way they were as fast as I think a lot of people thought they would, which means that President Biden has more time to release this act, because if he were to release it too far down the timeline, then people would not be able to, everybody would be on his case. You're just giving away money that people don't need. There was also another argument that came forward, which I made a video on as being the most moronic argument that could be made. There were a bunch of politicians that said we don't need another fourth stimulus to the people because a lot of the stimulus money was not collected up to this point. That was, as we went through in the video, one of the dumbest, most incredibly stupid, comments that could be made by politicians, because a lot of people couldn't get access to the stimulus. A lot of people couldn't tap into it through the website because there was some sort of error with their social security number or their last name. A lot of people had to get it through the tax refund through the IRS, so they haven't gotten it yet. So the point is, he was saying, a lot of them were saying actually that they shouldn't do another fourth stimulus because people didn't need the money. They didn't need to tap into it. The correct thing is this: there's a heck of a lot of people that need to tap into it that are still trying to tap into it but can't get it. I'm one of those people who went ahead and called the IRS multiple times. Sometimes I'd get through, sometimes I'd have to wait hours. And kind of the bottom line with this whole thing is that there's still a lot of people who are unable to get it. Steffi G, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I really, really do. Let me just read it. Thanks so much again for calling me on your way north and helping to tell me about all those forms. No word yet from SSA. That's what I can give you for now. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate that, guys. The funds that you guys donate here help me buy basically dog treats, and that's what I do with it. And Shadow gets full really quickly. Sweetie seems to eat them all, but that is what it is. Something that I don't have them out right now, but something that I have realized, and I didn't use them tonight, but something that if you have a dog, this is a really great thing for them. They make these like silicone little lick mats where they have all these little ridges built into the mat, and you put cream cheese on it, or you put Brunschwager on it, or whatever you put on it. It's just some sort of like food material. They love that. They love that. So if you ever get a chance to see those or buy one of those, check those out. Okay, so Holly Stewart is saying he has been saying one thing and doing another. He's always been against the people who are on SSI, SSDI. He tried to end it 6 times. That's why I'm scared. I have to take the meds they lie about. So that statement is true to some degree about the whole removing benefits. President Biden historically has not been a fan of Social Security benefits. His whole context prior to becoming president was pro Social Security benefits, and even hiring the kids and the family members of basically family members that were disabled. So having a daughter, a sister, a cousin, a brother, a nephew, or whatever, being hired by the government to oversee and watch over that person who is disabled, which I think is really interesting. That was a big part of it that nobody ever talked about. I didn't talk about it, and I did a video on it, like, what he intended to do, that got over 300,000 views. So you are correct, but look, here's the thing. All of these presidents that we get, I'm not saying whether they do criminal actions themselves, but there certainly seems to be a lot of criminal acts surrounding, how they got to where they're at, how they got the money that they got, things like that. And like I've said in other videos, the way I look at these political groups now is that you've got the religion of the Democrats with Pope Biden and the religion of the Republicans with Pope Trump. And if you don't fit into that design, then you are a heretic. You are committing heresy against that religion. And that's one of the reasons I made spaceconstitution.com, was to kind of waken people up that these are two models, two religions that are not of a higher being. These are just two man-made systems. Something I want to point out that I think you guys should consider: when we put somebody to death, okay, when we go ahead and illegally go through the procedure to end somebody's life, we are able to do that as human beings, not because we're physically just capable of doing it. We're able to do it in this country because of a piece of paper called the Constitution. And when you start to think about how warped that is, able to take away the life of another for crimes they've committed, it's all because of a piece of paper. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's a whole moral, ethical, yada, yada, yada. And some people, and God knows I've represented enough of them, some people are good-hearted, some people are, bad-hearted, and then some people are just truly evil. And they have the intention of hurting others, and they enjoy it. I've represented the whole plethora. I've represented amazing, people in the space program, police officers, sheriffs, accountants, lawyers, baggers at stores, people who basically, clean the balls at the bowling alley. I've represented some amazing people, and I've represented people who have over 40 felonies on their head. that have unfortunately done unthinkable things to people who are not of age yet. And I got to tell you this. I think what's important to remember is that the country has gotten so big, the government has gotten so big at this point, that we're not able to really shrink down and realize, that all of these laws and all of these agencies come from this piece of paper called the Constitution. And this piece of paper, even though it's not, traditional paper, and this piece of paper basically allows them to go ahead and dictate how we live our lives. And I've always felt like the HOA-ism of this, the homeowners association feeling of it all, is getting too strong, that people need to go back to more of a freedom-based, a rights-based society. But either way, that's neither here nor there. With the fourth stimulus, I feel like there is going to be a check. I'm seeing a lot of crap from other channels that's completely unsubstantiated, that has nothing to do with any of the bills or acts that have been released before. Has nothing to do with what the senators of the House reps are saying. So I've seen all those. I just want to make something really clear to you guys. We don't know. There's not a single YouTuber, attorney currently practicing like me. There's nobody out there that knows when this fourth stimulus is going to come out. President Biden doesn't even know when it's going to come out. He's got a much better idea as to when this whole thing is going to come down, but he doesn't even know. So when we go into why, be focused on the why there's the potential of a fourth stimulus, why there's the potential of increase in funds. You have Bernie Sanders on one side, who I think is actually doing a lot less harm than the Republicans are saying he is. Bernie Sanders is somebody that's like, look, why are people so poor? Why are a couple companies so rich? Shouldn't we have more people having more money? And as a result of that, so I'm going to get this phone call real quick, but I think as a result of that, I think the base theory behind him is that you got to understand, we have many types of government. And what we have right now is hyper-capitalism government. That's where a few companies own everything, and everybody else kind of struggles to play catch up and just survive and yada, yada. That's why you had places like Facebook making multiple hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of donations to political groups, because they are the super mega rich companies now. Your Googles, your Facebooks, your Twitters, and things like that. Your Macs, or Apple rather. And so what I want you to remember with all this is that hyper-capitalism is not good. Small business and mid-sized business capitalism is good. Socialism, a little bit of that is good. Communism, absolutely horrible. And the reason why is that we want to have people have the most rights afforded to them. And the most rights that get afforded to people are in the small business and medium business capitalism. The moment you have hyper-capitalism, and the moment that you basically have, hyper-socialism, which is communism, people lose rights and they don't have freedoms and everybody's miserable. And I think what's important to understand about this is that at the end of the day, you want your kids and your dog to basically have the capacity to go ahead and make choices that allow them to live in a free manner, drive places they want to go, eat at places they want to eat, build something on a piece of land that they have. You want prices to be cheap. You want competition to exist. You want electricity. Now, look, I'm coming out with another video too, and that video is going to specifically go into essentially what are resources, utilities that will be free in the not too distant future. Electricity is going to be much cheaper in the future because we now are building a working model in France as a giant fusion reactor. And that's how the sun works, the big ball with all the heat. It's just a continuous fusion, reactor. And we now have the technology to build one of those. So my point to all of you guys is this. Okay, yeah. All right, I'll answer the phone. Hold on. Let's grab it real quick. I know, and I've missed a bunch of phone calls. Hold on. Let's get this one. Here we go. Hold on, guys. We're gonna get one more phone call, and then we're gonna end it for the night because I've got to go to USPS. But let's get one more phone call. Here we go. It's ringing shortly. Now it's ringing. Hi, this is Attorney Walter Knott. Remember to use a fake name throughout this process. We are going to go live with a speakerphone on YouTube. And real quick, do you want me to answer a specific question, or would you like me to go ahead and run hearing questions with you?
Run the question with me.
Perfect. Oh, run the hearing question. So do you have a hearing coming up?
Anna here, Chris. I need to ask you about the $200 every month for the Social Security. What they saying about?
Okay, perfect. What would you like me? What's the specific question?
If we still gonna get that raise for $200.
So here's what would need to pass to get the raise of $200. And $200 is not actually a good figure because it's slightly more than $200 via the two main acts that would increase it. Act number one that would increase it is the Supplemental Security Income Restoration Act. And then act number two that would increase is the Social Security 2100 Act. And the bottom line with those is that they look at what the poverty level is and they increase basically disability benefits up above that poverty level, which means that you're actually getting a bit more than $200 per month. Now, what would need to happen to pass those? Well, you'd have to see quite a few things. First and foremost, the one act has been brought before the Senate again, which is the Supplemental Security Income Restoration Act, which is brought before it by a senator of Ohio. The Social Security 2100 Act has not been brought back up in this Congress. So we are waiting for that to come back. I think that was, frankly, a more in detail act that considered a lot of financial options that would actually pay for it and be a better act in that regard. But the bottom line is we don't know when that's going to happen. We just know that this is the first time we've got a president that stated that they support doing these things. Now, remember, this whole $200 increase was not about these two acts. That was from Senator Warren almost 2 years ago, who said for 2 years ago, we should increase Social Security benefits by $200 a month during this whole COVID crisis to allow people to be able to afford things such as, getting their medication delivered and not having to drive, such as, for example, going and, being able to have groceries delivered to their house, things that they normally would not be able to do. So my point to you with all of this is that we do not know when that will pass. Nobody knows when that will pass. What I'm merely doing online is providing you guys the specific acts that are being presented or have been presented in the prior year's Congress that President Biden talked about and supported prior to becoming president. And that basically those are the ones that I'm showing you what are in them. And then I'm kind of explaining what they mean because, a lot of people, they see the things and they go, well, okay, that's great, but what does that mean? Now, in the future, I am going to be releasing specifically how to write a bill that becomes law programs. So they're videos about how to make your own law. And the whole point of that is I'm going to do those, and then I'm going to go back and look at these acts, and I'm going to go through line by line and show you how they work so that you can see what's in them. And then at that point, you'll know how to write a bill. And frankly, you'll be able to take these bills that these senators are proffering, and you'll be able to make it better because you'll have that education. A lot of people, when they used to call into the show in the very beginning, they did horribly when I would run questions with them. Now they're doing significantly better, and it's incredible. It's everybody's at a much higher level when it comes to going into their disability hearing. So kind of the bottom line is I'm going to give you guys that knowledge base. I'm going to give you guys that training of how to write a bill that can become law and then what to do with it once it's law. And then I'm going to show you guys again, specifically the word by word, the line by line information in these acts that increases your Social Security benefits, because I really do truly believe people need to know the one thing they don't have that would make this country better. And that one thing is how to write law.
Yeah. Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
I heard somebody say they're going to pay us a stimmer check for $2,000. You heard that too?
So they were talking about that. Different senators agreed with it. And these were senators on the far, far, far left. But you have to understand something. None of them have brought forward legislation that's going to pin that down to actually make it happen. They are just telling you this based upon text messages, just based upon Twitter messages and things like that, that they've seen them talk about online. They are not de facto, bills that can become law. That's all right. So that's another thing I want to point out here, guys. A lot of people are like, hey, why don't we all just write letters to these politicians demanding this? Well, why don't we take the next step and write the bill that we want to become law and then shove it into their eyesight and force them to recognize that this is what people want, so that it's not a special interest group writing the laws that dictate how our lives are going to be, but rather the American people. To me, providing the senators with the laws, with the bills rather, that they can pass is a much better step than waiting for special interest groups and think tanks to write them for us and then have them present them to basically the senators to pass. Because when those special interest groups and those think tanks create the bills, they throw in all this extra junk that has nothing to do with the original idea or title of that act. And that to me is criminal, but they do it all the time. So unfortunately, to answer your question really quickly, nobody knows when there's going to be a 200 plus extra per month. Nobody knows when there's going to be a $2,000 stimulus bump. But what we do know is that certain senators do support it, even though for the 2,000 bump, there is no bill on the table other than there's one. There's one. And I did a couple of videos on it, but the likelihood of it passing is very low. And that's basically where I think it was, I forget her name, but right now, basically she had the idea of doing a $2,000 stimulus for everybody. And she wanted to also have the creation of a digital currency all in the same act. This act is not in itself going to be successful because it does not show a proper means by which it is going to be paid. Her whole thing in that act was creating two coins out of a metal, and then attributing to each one of those coins the worth of $1 trillion, and then having one government agency buy from the mint that created those coins. That government agency would buy them for $1 trillion each. And then they would do some book balancing and then distribute basically $2 trillion worth of, funds to the American people. That is not a proper way to pay for the next stimulus. And that is what that one senator said that she wanted to do. And all that will do is create hyperinflation, which will make your eggs and your milk cost 3 to 4 times as much as they currently do.
Oh, okay, then.
All right. Perfect, ma'am. Yeah, excellent. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know they say they're going to pay us. Somebody say we might get it in September. I don't know.
Maybe. Nobody knows. It could be August, September, October, November. It could be any one of these. Remember, too, a lot of this is based on how quickly the economy recovers. And the red states, because, they're Republican-based states, and that's a lot of small businesses, medium business states. Those states tend... Yeah.
People go on vacation, don't they?
Yeah, well, they do.
They pass a stimulus check before they go on vacation.
But they're not. I mean, they'll probably go on vacation for Labor Day, and they won't be in session. And during that whole time, life is good for them. They make a lot of money. They pull in a lot of resources. Life is good. There were things I wanted to do on my vacation this time. I get one vacation a year, and I couldn't do them because I just didn't have a lot of extra money because of basically the government slowing down payments to the law firms. They're paying us 6 months to a year after when we actually win the claim, which is just horrific. So I guess what I would say to you is this. Don't make any financial choices with the expectation of receiving it, but keep an eye out for the video that I'm going to release that explains the top 10 things that you should watch out for. That means a bill is going to be passed into law. And then look out for a specific bill that is responsible on how it's going to pay for it. That will go ahead and do $2,000 to each person. And the reason why is you're going to look at that bill and you're going to see if that bill has those things that make it likely to pass. And I'm going to have that video be released in about 2 to 3 days.
Okay. When y'all going to be Friday or Monday?
Over the weekend or maybe Monday or Tuesday. One of the things you guys sometimes see with my channel is that there will be multiple videos released on one day. That's because I'm not really watching when these things get released. Like I have some that I'll produce that I'll keep coming out with, but otherwise there's zillions of videos already posted that are scheduled to come out. And I just don't, when they come out, they come out, So I guess what I would say is this, it might be Monday, it might be Tuesday, it might be over the weekend, but keep an eye out for it. It's the things you need to know of what you need for a bill to be likely to pass into essentially a law.
So do you write to the president sometimes?
I have. I've done it during the Obama era.
You didn't never write to the president then.
I've written to Obama. I've written to Trump. I've written to Biden. I have at this point, and I saw actually an interesting thing. I saw George Bush getting onto his plane up in Maine at the little cafe there when I was up in Maine a couple of weeks ago. And I always thought George Bush was my height, around 5'9". He's not. He's actually like 6 foot. He just always seems shorter compared to a lot of the people he was around. But bottom line is this. Yeah, I've written to all of them, but writing to them is, in my opinion, almost useless. You need to create the bills to push the senators and the House reps to actually put them on the table, get them in front of their different groups to look at them, and then get them pushed through, get them to vote them through at the House, get them to vote them through at the Senate, get them in front of the president, get a signature on it. We are not, as an American people, going to succeed with what we believe we should have unless we are in control of creating the laws that we think we should, that we do deserve and should have. And the problem I see with that is that you can't write laws, right? You can't write the bill that would become law unless you have a legal education. Well, I'm going to create a video series that literally teaches you step by step how to do it, because I'm pissed off and tired of the American people not having the education required to create the freedoms that would make them happy and live in harmony. And I think that we have enough mega corporations. I think that we have enough billionaires and trillionaires coming down the pike that it's now time for us to reevaluate the rebalance of essentially getting the American people to live not in a state of less than the 100% poverty, which is what we have right now, but living in a state where they have enough to afford things and even save up for the year to go on a vacation. I think that's something that we need to move towards, because if you go back to the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, people could go on vacation. I know a lot of disabled people. I know a lot of retired people that don't even have the money to basically move off their couch from doing nothing for the day. And that's sad. People deserve to live a life of liberty.
Yeah, so I sure thank you, because so you guys, so I hope pass, they said they think about pass in July. It might be August, so they come back for recess, something like that.
Indeed, indeed. And that's one of the things to watch out for, is when they go on recess, when they come back. But look, and I'll give you some of the other things to look for. You're looking for bills that come out that have 100 co-sponsors. You're looking for bills that have the top end senators basically on TV talking about the plus and minus options of them. You're looking for bills where the president has acknowledged what he's willing to sign, what he's not willing to sign. You're looking for bills that have a solid way that they're actually going to pay for them. You're looking for bills that have come out in one form and are then sucked into a larger bill that's even more likely to pass because of more co-sponsors. These are things that you want to look for that will tell you that a fourth stimulus is coming.
Yeah. I heard somebody say we probably get it every 2 months. Every month. It's $2,000 every month. I don't believe that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's just,
they're not gonna happen.
That's not going to happen. Look, the American economy is struggling. It hasn't paid a lot of taxes. People are struggling. The money isn't into. Look, the most important agency right now is the IRS. And I know people hate the IRS because of what it means to them and stuff like that. But the reality is the IRS is the most important agency right now. It's the group that collects the money, that pays for our military, pays for our retirement, pays for our Social Security benefits in general, pays for our DAC, our SSI, our SSDI, our AUX, our widows, our spousal, pays for all this stuff. The IRS is the group that collects the money that pays for things. And unfortunately, the IRS has not been able to collect a lot of money because a lot of the businesses and people, they don't have money.
Well, then, nice talking to you. I ain't gonna call you no more. Probably in September. I might call you back in September.
Okay, sounds good. Give me a call. I'll keep releasing videos, and then check in with us in a couple of weeks to a month or so, and we'll go from there, you know?
Okay, then. So you answer phone on the weekend? You don't do no phone call on the weekend, though?
I used to, but basically I bought a house. The house needed a lot of work, so most of my weekends get sucked up into me writing briefs and then working on house stuff. But I do phone calls for those that have hearings coming up. and I do run questions over but things related to this stuff, I don't usually do phone calls. And I want to put out one more thing. If somebody's calling the law firm and they're already receiving disability benefits, I have to redirect them consistently over to calling during this live session, because when I'm at the law firm, I can only work on basically those claimants or people looking to file for disability benefits, as opposed to people who want to know about stimulus checks or are already receiving benefits and have a question. So if it's about receiving benefits and obtaining them, give the law firm a call during the 9 to 5. But if it's not, catch up with me on Thursday when I donate the 2 hours like we're doing right now. That would be the appropriate time to call me about this stuff.
Okay, then I ain't calling you about. I really get this bit. I didn't call you when they stimulus check.
Sure.
$200.
Sure.
I was there ask you about the $200 raise. I know they said he supposed to be coming.
Well, it's not coming from the one that has the best shot of passing. And are you an SSI or SSDI?
SSI.
Okay, so if you're SSI, the one that has the best shot for you to be the Ssi Restoration Act. That's the one you want to watch out for. That's the one that was recently brought back into the light from the Ohio senator, who will go ahead and basically continue to push that forward. Biden does like that. He did support it. That's where it's going to come from. But it's not going to be $200 plus per month. It's going to be more than that.
Oh, okay. Then somebody say it's going to be 1,000.
It's not going to be 1,000. It's not going to be 1,000. No. So, all right. But I'll catch you a little. Yeah, I'll go ahead.
It might be 200. You think it might be 200?
It would be over 200 because the raising the 794 up past basically the 100% poverty rate, which makes it around $1,034, $35, maybe even a little bit more.
I heard that yesterday. Yeah, I heard that. I heard they said probably raise $1,100, $1,034, something like that.
Well, yeah, that is correct. That I was the one who was putting out the math on that. That basically this would be increased during the if the SSI Restoration Act passes. That's correct. You would get a boost over essentially 100% poverty rate of 794 up to 1,033 to 1,037, maybe a little bit more. But that area, it would just be over $1,000 by a little bit. But the bottom line here is it's got to pass, and nobody knows when it's going to pass.
I hope he passes in September.
Who knows? But anyways, have a wonderful night. Catch up with us in a couple of months,
I'm sorry about calling you.
No, totally fine. Have a wonderful night, and I'll catch you later.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, guys, so I've missed a bunch of phone calls. I know, I'm sorry. I can't answer them all. Catch up with me next Thursday. Remember, if it's calls about obtaining of benefits, hiring me as an attorney, call me during the 9 to 5. If it's calls about what's going to happen with the stimulus, what's going to happen with payments, stuff like that, or you just have a question, you're already receiving benefits, call me on Thursdays, 8 to 10 p.m., and that's when basically Eastern Standard Time, we can go through whatever questions you have. Also, very important, spaceconstitution.com is going to be the headquarters for where I'm releasing those videos of how to write a bill that ultimately becomes law. I'm still waiting for my 501c3 certification, which is the nonprofit status. So donations made are not fully deductible yet, but hopefully they will be in the future. Other than that, guys, you have an absolutely wonderful night. I'll catch you a little bit later, and we'll go from there. My name is Attorney Walter Ruthnaut III. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.